Good afternoon, class. My name is Keelan Hoyt. This is my presentation on a flight plan with the G1000. So I took off from JFX, that's Walker County Airport, and went to Huntsville International, HSV. It was 68 nautical miles. It took us about 45 minutes, and then once we got to Huntsville, we did the ILS approach into 18 left. For the most part, we cruised at 5,500, and then once we got aligned, we basically had to chop and drop it because we were above the glide slope when we were even past the final approach fix. So for the most part, the flight went really well, and it was about maybe 2 hours total because we went to Huntsville and then back. So anytime we fly with GPS, we're always gonna make sure that we have RAM and WAS capabilities. Make sure that we have good satellite configuration leaving the airport, but also at our destination airport. Out of this video, I thought I'd be able to mute it, but it's not muting, so I'm just gonna play it for you and stay silent until it's finished.
Then I'll go do the MFD check. So I use the big knob, turn it to the right, and go over to the aux page. Then use the little knob, turn it to the right to go down to GPS status. Extinguish that window, and I work my way across the selfies here. GPS 1, I'm seeing at least 6 in the green with D. GPS 2, 6 in the green with D at least. We're already on the RAIM selected page. We're going to come back to the present position within 2 hours. So I'm going to use the big knob to scroll down, little knob to do 2 hours ahead. 1, 2, and then enter, enter, enter. And it's going to predict if we have RAIM available, and it does. Back down to the soft key, the satellite-based augmentation system. Make sure wide area augmentation system is checked.
So there you go. You can see that's basically me and my instructor. We were running through how we would check for RAM and WAS capabilities on the G1000 today before we took off. We did our VFR into an IFR approach into Huntsville.
And I'll go do.
So from here, we're going to make sure we program our GPS to show that we're what airport we're going into. So you can see here, after verifying that we have satellite configurations, we will program for our destination by pushing the direct key, red arrow. Then using the soft knob, we're going to type in KHSV, and then we're hit enter once. And then once we see that Huntsville comes up, we're going to verify we have Huntsville, Alabama, Huntsville International, good. We're going to hit enter again, and then from there it should populate on our scoreboard. We can see here we have a direct Huntsville distance 45.9 nautical miles, and then our bearing is going to be 034. And then from there we can, if we have autopilot set up, or if we're going to decide to use autopilot with our G1000, what we're going to do is we're going to hit nav, and then from nav we're going to program in our altitude. So we're going to set our altitude with the knob, and then we're going to push autopilot, and then we're going to use, if we're going to climb to an altitude, we do flight level change. So that's a FC with the blue arrow next to it, and then we nose up and nose down to control our climb speed. So we're going to climb at 80 knots. If we want to descend, we're going to push VS for vertical speed, and we're going to nose up, nose down, and we can set our vertical speed. So we'll descend at say 500 feet per minute. So while en route, we're just, even with the autopilot, we're basically going to fly as if we're still flying the airplane. I'm going to continue my scans. I'm going to look for traffic. I'm going to maintain, our airspeed and altitude. I'm going to make sure that, my autopilot doesn't do something weird and start trying to pitch me up into a pitch attitude or a high pitch attitude to stall us. I don't want it. I want to make sure that I'm always staying on nav unless I'm getting heading vectors. I'm going to use my mini map, but also the large map on the MFD to look for traffic. But today it was a flight in VMC. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look outside the aircraft as much as possible. But I can always use the MFD and that miniature map to look for any aircrafts that might be using radar, and then from there I could try to pinpoint them, figure out where they're at. There's a couple times where like, well, it shows right here they should be about 11 o'clock, but I don't see them. Okay, I see them now. It took a little bit, but then we found them. So even though I'm flying with autopilot, I'm just gonna always make sure I'm still paying attention, staying coordinated with rudder inputs, and then keep an eye on my engine instruments as well as my flight instruments. Uh, so for waypoints, because this is a flight in VMC, I had ground references most of the flight. There was a little bit of a broken ceiling leaving Walker County and then coming back into Walker County, but we were able to keep it VMC the whole time. As we were flying, we just looked at for other airports. We had Hartselle that you can see right about here, flying a little bit north, and then we get to the Tennessee River, and then from there we fly right over to Decatur, and then we'll see Huntsville International. We just basically flew like all the way to beam it, getting radar vectors in for their approach. If we did decide to file for this flight, which we didn't need to, but if we did, we basically could just follow the Tango 439 RNAV airway all the way into Huntsville, and be from there just get set up for the approach by radar vectors. Or if they want us to do the procedure hold or whatnot, that's up to them. But today we just got radar vectors in. So a little bit about this approach. It's just a real standard ILS approach into this airport. The only thing that was kind of weird today is Huntsville's a training airport for a lot of ATC personnel that are getting trained up or getting their qualifications. So we were being radar vectored into the approach, but we were never told to descend at all. So by the time we finally got established on the approach and cleared for the ILS 18 left, we were still at 5,500, and we're like a mile from the final approach fix. So we basically had like 5 miles to lose 4,900 feet. So I just kept my flaps up, and then I just slipped all the way down to the runway, and it really didn't cause any problems. Huntsville's a real long runway. Even their shorter runway is still 10,000 feet. So we were able to land it and put it down fairly close to my aiming point, and then just take right back off without any issues. It would have been nice to be able to get established on the approach and be at altitude where we could have intercepted that glide slope and just let the GPS fly us in. But that wasn't my fault. That was ATC. They were probably just busy. Maybe it was somebody that was training that day. So no harm, no foul. Everything worked out just fine. My experience with the G1000, obviously it's a great tool. It makes flying a lot easier, especially when you have an autopilot with the G1000. Just programming things in, and then just being able to, really stay aware of everything that's going on. I could check my instruments for my flight. I can check my engine instruments. I can scan for traffic. It makes recording weather a lot easier. So overall, it's a better flight experience. My only fear with it is I think I'd become too dependent on it if I flew with it consistently. I think I might lose my stick and rudder abilities. It's really easy to fly in turbulence. It was a little rocky today, but you just have the autopilot, and then you just make sure you stay coordinated. But I like flying by hand flying. I think I want to keep that stick and rudder skill up. But obviously, I'm gonna get to a point in my aviation career where I will be flying for the most part, with just autopilot, and just maintaining and managing systems the whole way to my destination. So I appreciate your time. Thank you for sticking with me. Hopefully it wasn't too boring. So y'all have a good night.